Okay, Fraternity Court. Yes, I watched Fraternity Court. What were you about to say?
Do you like what? Like my guess ratio is like 95% when it comes to them babies. It's the eyebrows, the eyes, and then I, I'm telling you, I'll be like, that ain't his. You are not. He in trouble. You
Listen,
are the father. That's how that should be flying.
this is the only thing. This is the only thing I have a problem with Fraternity Court. Even with the Maury show, that is fine that you guys have your issues, but why are you showing this baby? This poor innocent child may be like, and they're just clueless to what they're on camera for, and they're just so innocent in the entire situation. And it's like, I hate that. But let me tell you this. I'm glad you brought Paternity Court up because our first story is Paternity Court. A man, we couldn't show the video because, copyright issues. But there was a guy, his name, you guys can Google this. His name was Bill, I think Manser, if I'm not mistaken. Her name was Seth versus Bill Manser. But anyway, he went to prison for 5 years for not paying child support. And the
I think I
baby
seen
came
that.
back and it wasn't his.
I seen that case. What like would you,
Listen, I ain't never been so mad before in my life at the chick. And then she had to sit. I mean, I guess it was her reaction. She wasn't even, apologetic. It just irked my living soul.
do you think
You saw
that
that one,
I think if it's the same one, it was like an older white guy in like Arkansas or something.
Miss
Yeah,
Missouri?
yeah, one of them. Yeah, one of them states like that. He
Mhm.
he had already been to jail for 5 years. And in that
Mhm.
episode of Paternity Court, he was getting tested. And then when he failed, he had to go turn himself back in and go back to jail after that. From what I remember of that episode,
Well,
that
no, no.
shit
Did you
crazy.
watch Enos? Did you see it? So
Wow.
what I tried to do was I tried to get an update because I read the comments and some people had updates on there, but I was trying to find the transcript because I think that he did try to sue. So what happened was in the 90s or late 90s or whatever, she had a paternity test done, and I think the paternity test came back that the child was his, but she worked at the paternity office, right? Oh yeah, it was a whole lot of bull BS. Well, of course, when the court came and did it, which because on the paternity show they always do the test, and her test came back that he's not the father, and so he was like, "Oh, did they falsify results?" So what I saw, I think, was he sued the lab, stating that the lab was in wrong. Something about the lab he sued. And then I thought she was facing up to, I didn't get an update, but I think she was facing up to 20 years because of that incident. But I was just like, 5 years, and this chick knew this man may not be the dad. That's trifling. That is trifling.
It's worse.
Crazy.
It's worse because she didn't care when he was about to go back to jail after she found out he wasn't the father. I'm like,
Crazy. He was so mad. He said, "This has got to be illegal. Like she's got to go to. She should
she
go to
gotta
jail."
go.
And I
That,
was in
that was,
agreement. It was
but is
crazy.
it a real rule for that though? What's the charge she was facing?
I would think perjury, right? Because she's lying. Aren't those documents like? Because when you go into the courtroom, you're saying that this person, you really believe this person to be the father. But if she goes to paternity court and then the judge at paternity court, because the judge asked her during the paternity court, "Are you surprised?" And she said no. She said, "Well, do you know who the father is?" And she said, "Well, yes, I'm still friends with him." That means you lied.
So
Yeah.
I don't think that's so. I don't unless she was under oath, then it's not considered perjury,
Would you
right?
not be? So I've never been to court before for that.
But
So I don't know if you.
falsifying, yeah. So falsifying documents is still a crime, right? Um, Also, outside of like criminal court, he could take her to court for personal damages, right? So whether she gets tried in a criminal court or not, like he could still clean her out if he wanted to.
I think he went after the company because he said that there was a paternity test and the test came back a certain way, whether she works there or not. All he knows is he went to a lab to take a paternity test and those results were incorrect. And because they had gave him incorrect lab results, he had to do this, and this, and I think that that's the route he decided to go because it's probably the most lucrative, right? He knows she ain't got no money,
They
so
released him the next day.
they
He
did.
did
You
have
read
to,
it?
yeah, he had to report back, but they released him the next day.
Oh,
And they
good.
they meaning the lady, and I could tell you her name. Shit.
It would start with an S, right?
Seher, Seher, Manser versus Seher.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Manser and doo doo doo. It doesn't even show her first name at all. Ain't that some? Anyway, yeah, he was released the next day. They're both suing LabCorp for the result that happened in 1993. He ended up paying over $30,000 in child support,
Mm-hmm.
and that's all part of the lawsuit. He wants to recoup his funds from someone, basically.
I don't blame him. But good news is I looked up Georgia law, and last year they now make it a requirement for you to take a paternity test before you go into the court of law, stating for custody right, custodial rights. When as it relates to child support or anything else, before they can proceed with anything, they make the DNA test kind of the part of the package.
Yeah,
So kudos for Georgia.
Yeah, that's what's up. I think that should be one of the, like, when everybody talking about what they're gonna fight for or what they want to see changed. I think mandatory paternity test. You have to opt out of it when you have a baby. That should probably be the rule. Where they come ask for.
Unfortunately, it's a state thing, so it would have to be up to the individual states to make those changes. So, but I think the internet is helping with this situation. I think that all of these things are coming to light. All these trifling people are, we can see them. And I think that there are changes slowly but surely being made. Hopefully more states will catch on to that. I didn't have an opportunity to look at all the states, but I did look at Georgia, and I did see that Georgia last year, like before you would be able to go to the hospital and sign a paternity document, say, I acknowledge that I am the father. They won't even allow you to do that anymore. They'll let you sign it, but it doesn't mean anything. Thanks for the signature. That's what it means. So thought that was an interesting story. So, any more any news? Y'all had all that news to share in the little chat.
I thought you was gonna bring it up. Let me see.
I didn't get a chance to look at it because I was in the kitchen.
There was a lot.
And y'all do be writing a lot. Like a dissertation.
That's chaotic. That's ChatGPT. That don't be
the hole in China.
Yeah.
I said chaotic. My brain can't tolerate that tonight. I just can't do it. Anyway, I do apologize. We're just mumbling right now. Anyhow, we're talking about the community and some of the issues that are happening in the community. Listen, I know we sit here and we talk about marriage all day long, but I do not see anything changing. The more and more I look at the internet, the more and more I look at all these other things, I think that more people, races of people, are starting to not care about marriage. The marriage rates are declining, y'all.
Across the board for everybody?
Across the board.
Yeah.
More single moms across the board. I think we're going backwards, right? I don't think people are getting a memo that single motherhood is hard. I don't think people are getting the memo that kids do better when two people in the household. Or they just don't care.
They probably don't believe 50 degrees.